Emma Hayes shifted uncomfortably in her seat as Flight 907 cruised smoothly above the clouds. At 7 months pregnant, nothing felt easy, especially not a long transatlantic flight. Her lower back ached, her ankles were swollen, and her baby had decided that today was a perfect day for non-stop kicking. Still, she wore a small, determined smile. She was going home. Home to New York after 6 long months in Berlin, where she'd been completing a design contract. Home to her husband, Adam, who had been sending her hourly reminders to drink water and take breaks. The cabin hummed with the soft noises of a routine flight, children whispering, passengers reading, the occasional clink of a coffee cup. Emma rested her hand gently on her belly. "Almost there, little one," she whispered. She closed her eyes for a moment. Then the plane lurched, not a small bump, no turbulence-like shake, a sharp, unnatural jolt. Passengers gasped. A drink cart rattled violently. Someone screamed softly from the back. Emma clutched the armrests as her heart jumped to her throat. But just as quickly as it came, the shaking stopped. The sudden stillness felt even worse. The flight attendants hurried to reassure everyone, but their forced smiles didn't match the fear in their eyes. Emma knew enough to tell when a crew was nervous. This was beyond routine. A flight attendant named Rosa hurried down the aisle. As she passed Emma, the intercom suddenly crackled and died. No announcement, no static, nothing. Total silence from the cockpit. Rosa froze mid-step. She exchanged a sharp, worried glance with her colleague before rushing toward the front. Emma shifted forward in her seat, watching as they knocked on the cockpit door. Knock, knock, knock. "Captain, this is Rosa." No answer. She tried the emergency call. Still nothing. Emma felt her pulse rising. A heavy, cold feeling settled in the pit of her stomach. She tightened her grip around her belly as if she could shield her child from the tension. Creeping through the plane, seconds ticked by. They felt like hours. A passenger near the front shouted nervously, "Is everything okay?" But the attendants didn't respond. They were whispering urgently, their panic barely contained. Then it happened. The plane dipped. Gently at first, just enough for people to notice their stomachs drop. But then the nose lowered a little more, like someone had let go of the controls. Rosa grabbed onto a seat. A few passengers screamed. Emma pressed a hand over her pounding heart. "Stay calm. Stay calm," she whispered, though she wasn't sure if she was talking to herself or her unborn child. The dip corrected itself as the autopilot fought to stabilize the aircraft, but the movement was wrong. Uneven, slightly off-center, like something vital wasn't responding the way it should. Then, boom, a thunderous sound cracked outside. Then another, boom. The cabin filled with screams. A woman cried, "We're exploding!" Emma forced her eyes to the window. What she saw made her breath freeze. 2 F-16 fighter jets, sleek, gray, deadly, flew in perfect formation beside the passenger plane. Their lights blinked in precise, deliberate patterns. They weren't escorting casually, they were positioning for an emergency. Intercept. Passengers shouted, cried, prayed. Several ducked as if the jets might fire. Rosa, pale and trembling, whispered to another crew member, "Why would they scramble fighters unless the cockpit isn't responding?" Emma's thoughts spun. F-16 intercepts weren't a joke. This wasn't turbulence. This wasn't a malfunction. This was something much more serious. She forced herself to focus on the fighter jet closest to her window. She leaned in, pressing her palms against the glass. The pilot inside was signaling, but not randomly, not waving, signaling with military hand codes. Slow, controlled, methodical. Her breath caught. She knew those signals. Her father, Colonel James Hayes, former Air Force instructor, used to teach her and her little brother the basics of fighter pilot communication. For fun when they were children. At the time, she'd found it silly. But now those same motions were flashing before her. The F-16 pilot repeated the series of shapes. "Can you hear me? Respond if able. State pilot status." Emma's pulse spiked. The fighters thought the plane might be hijacked, or the pilots had lost consciousness, or worse. Rosa turned to the passengers. "Everyone, please remain seated. This is standard." Her voice cracked. She clearly didn't believe her own words. Emma swallowed hard. Her throat felt too tight. She shook her head, forcing air into her lungs. And then, slowly, she lifted her shaky hands. She formed the response her father drilled into her when she was 12. "We see you. No contact with cockpit. Pilot status unknown." The F-16 pilot's eyes widened behind his visor. He repeated another signal. "Understood. You passenger responding. Codename Phantom 1. We will follow your lead." Emma froze. "Why me? I'm not in the cockpit. I'm not trained. I'm just a pregnant woman sitting in row 18. But she was the only one who understood them. The only bridge between the fighters and the helpless. Plane with nearly 300 lives on board. Her baby kicked again, hard. She closed her eyes, inhaled deeply, and whispered, Okay, we can do this." When she opened her eyes, she wasn't just Emma Hayes anymore. She wasn't just a pregnant passenger. She was the only person on the aircraft who could communicate with the fighters, protecting them. A mother, a daughter of an Air Force man. And now, Phantom 1. Rosa approached her, whispering urgently, "What is he saying? Do you understand him?" Emma nodded. Her voice came out steadier than she expected. "I do, and they think the pilots might be unconscious." Rosa's face drained of color. "Can you help us, please?" Emma didn't hesitate. "Tell me what you need." Rosa grabbed her hand and guided her toward the front of the plane. Passengers moved aside, eyes wide with fear. Emma could feel every heartbeat pounding in her chest, but she walked anyway. She had to. She reached the cockpit door. The intercom was dead. The attendants tried the emergency access key. The lock shifted, clicked, but didn't fully open. "Something's blocking it," Rosa whispered. Emma leaned close to the door and felt her baby shift again, as if sensing the tension around them. Behind her, the passengers were sobbing, panicking, whispering prayers. Above them, the lights flickered. Outside, the F-16s stayed close, waiting for her next signal. Emma pressed her palm against the cockpit door. "Hold on," she whispered to whoever was inside. And then, to her baby, "Hold on, little one. Mama's not letting anything happen to you." Emma didn't know how she was going to help, but she knew one thing for certain. The cockpit was silent. The pilots weren't responding, and she was the only voice the F-16s could hear. The narrow hallway leading to the cockpit felt colder than the rest of the plane, as if the air itself understood the gravity of the moment. Emma stood before the half-unlocked door, heart pounding so hard she could feel it flutter against her ribs. Her baby shifted under her palm, another reminder that she wasn't alone in this terrifying moment. Rosa and two other flight attendants surrounded her, their faces pale with fear but lit with desperate hope. "The door should open," Rosa whispered, trying the lock again. "It's unlocked, but something is blocking it from the inside." Blocked. Emma's mind raced. A fallen pilot, a collapsed seat, anything could be wedged against the door, preventing full access. Behind them, passengers murmured frantically. Someone cried, someone prayed loudly, someone shouted that they were all going to die. Emma shut her eyes briefly. Focus. She glanced out the narrow side window. The F-16 pilot was still there, staring straight at her, waiting. He signaled, "Status? Cockpit." Emma inhaled deeply and repeated the message using her hands. "Door blocked. Pilot's not responding." "Help?" The F-16 pilot shook his head. "Cannot board. You must enter." A tremor shot through Emma's legs. The idea of her squeezing into the cockpit alone, pregnant, untrained, terrified, felt impossible. Rosa touched her shoulder. "Emma, we need someone who can at least identify what's wrong inside. You said your father. He was Air Force?" Emma nodded. "He used to take us to simulators. He taught us basic controls. I'm not a pilot, but I know more than most." Rosa exhaled, relief replacing panic. "Then you're the best chance we have. You're the only one who understands the jets out there." Behind them, another jolt shook the aircraft. The plane dipped slightly, autopilot overcorrected, then dipped again. It wasn't going to hold. Not much longer. The attendant beside them pulled out a small metal bar. "This is the secondary door spreader. If something is blocking the door, we can push the frame enough for one person to squeeze through." Emma's pulse hammered. She imagined her baby, tiny and fragile, inside her. What if squeezing through and climbing forward hurts the baby? What if she slips? What if the plane jerks again? Then her baby kicked. Strong, certain. Her eyes burned. "Okay," Emma whispered, voice trembling but sure. "Let's open it." The attendant slid the metal bar between the frame and door and pulled. The door strained with a low groan. Something heavy scraped from the other side. "Again," Emma urged. They pulled harder. Finally, crack. The door gap widened, just enough. Emma peered inside. Her breath caught. Both pilots slumped forward, heads down, oxygen, masks hanging uselessly. One lay partially collapsed across the floor, his body wedged against the door, which explained the blockage. Both chests rose and fell faintly. They were alive, but unconscious. The smell of something sharp, metallic, hung in the air. Rosa whispered, "Hypoxia, rapid onset." Emma nodded. Her father had warned her about this. If the cabin oxygen system malfunctioned, pilots could lose consciousness in minutes. "We need to get the plane down, fast." Emma took a deep breath and angled her body sideways, carefully squeezing through the narrow opening. Her stomach brushed the frame, sending a wave of fear through her, but she made it through. The cockpit lights flickered ominously. She crawled forward, grabbing the co-pilot's seat for balance. The aircraft dipped again, harder this time. Emma slammed into a panel, gritting her teeth as her belly pressed uncomfortably. "Steady, steady. Think of the baby." She pulled herself into the co-pilot's seat and strapped in. Her hands trembled over the controls. Digital warnings blinked violently. Autopilot fail. Oxygen feed error. Cabin pressure unstable. Her throat tightened. She relayed a quick signal to the F-16. "Pilot's unconscious. Autopilot fail. I'm taking control." The fighter pilot nodded sharply. "We guide. You follow. Phantom 1, copy?" Emma's pulse thudded. The title hit her harder now, not a nickname. A call sign, a commander's acknowledgement. She signaled back. "Copy." The plane swayed again. Emma wrapped both hands around the yoke, feeling the weight of nearly 300 lives press against her shoulders. She gently pulled back, leveling the nose. The plane steadied. A wave of shocked applause erupted outside the cockpit from passengers who could feel the shift. Emma had taken control. Her heart raced. Her baby kicked again, as if urging her keep going. The F-16 pilot pointed downward and made a circular motion. "Begin descent. Follow my angle." Emma nodded and adjusted the throttle, just like her father taught. "Small movements, Emma. Airplanes are like people. Panic makes them unstable. Calm hands." Her hands were shaking, but she managed to lower the plane's altitude slowly. The F-16 dropped with her, matching every movement. Alarms continued to beep, but the aircraft responded. Below, clouds parted, revealing a military-based runway, lit like a glowing path. The second F-16 signaled, "Runway cleared! You land. We cover." Emma swallowed hard. Okay. She dropped the landing gear. A heavy clunk reverberated under her. She aligned with the runway, slightly left, corrected, then straightened again. The ground rushed toward them. Her breath locked inside her chest. Her baby shifted again. Emma whispered, "Stay with me, sweetheart. Thudi." The wheels hit hard. The plane bounced. Passengers screamed. Emma fought the instinct to pull up and instead eased the yoke, letting the wheels settle again. I'd roll screech. The aircraft skidded, rattling violently. Smoke burst from the tires. Emma held firm, breath held, hands locked, heart racing. Gradually, slowly, the plane slowed. Slower. "Stop!" Silence. Passengers erupted into sobs of relief, cheers, prayers, shouts of Emma's name. Emma sagged forward, tears pouring down her cheeks. Her hands slid from the controls. She pressed her palms to her belly. "We did it," she whispered. "We did it, baby." Minutes later, medics stormed the cockpit, pulling the pilots out for emergency oxygen. "They'll live," one said. "You saved them by getting us down fast." Outside, Emma was escorted down the stairs. Her legs wobbled. She leaned against a rescue worker for support. Both F-16 pilots stood at attention on the tarmac, helmets off, waiting for her. When she approached, they saluted. Sharp, precise, full honor. The lead pilot stepped forward, voice steady. "Ma'am, you took command when no one else could. You kept 289 souls alive. From this day forward, the Air Force recognizes the civilian call sign you earned." He paused. Phantom 1. Emma pressed a trembling hand to her belly. And for the rest of her life, she would carry two identities. A mother, and the woman who landed a silent plane under the escort of F-16s.